Welcome to Stories Found. Each week we feature funny, weird, and mostly true stories from writers, artists, and storytellers around the world. I'm your host, Ava Love Hannah, a writer and humorist from Austin, Texas. Joining me is my writing partner, audio engineer, and all-around cool guy, Paul Hannah. You're listening to Stories Found. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Stories Found. In this episode, we've got a special treat for you. We'll be hearing the 10-minute play 1617 by playwright Jason Rainey. Jason is a member of ScriptWorks in Austin. His work has been commissioned, presented, or produced by ScriptWorks, Last Frontier Theater Conference, Penobscot Theater, Daedalus Theater, Freshwater Theater, Mildred's Umbrella, Sound Plays, Texas Dramatist Playwriting Series, and Punchkin Rep. He has directed several of his own short plays at Austin's Frontera Fest and received a Best of Fest citation in 2011. I met Jason through ScriptWorks, an Austin-based playwriting organization in which we're both members. I've seen several of his plays at salons and in local productions, and I've always been impressed with his writing. And, he's just a super great guy, too. Not only is he an incredibly talented playwright, but he takes the time to support and encourage other writers. And I am so excited to get to introduce you to him today. Hey Jason, thanks for joining us today to chat about your play 1617. So this is the first play we've had on the podcast, and I'm thrilled that it's one of yours. Can you go ahead, just give us a little summary, tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear today.
Sure. This is a play about a mother and a daughter, and the daughter is turning 17, so that's the title. She's becoming a 17-year-old, and her mom is really thrilled about this. The daughter, not so much. The characters are pretty close in age for a mother-daughter kind of relationship. They're really more like sisters, honestly. The mom had her daughter when she was a teenager, so they behave more like sisters. It's really not so much of a parent-child relationship. It's about two women who are really close in age and how they relate to one another.
So when you sent the play over, I read it and I loved it. It's funny and it's got a lot of heart. And I picked up on that tension that we're feeling. This young woman's in that sort of gray area that we were all in at one point, sort of on the cusp of adulthood. And then there is a sort of playful tension between the daughter and the mother. And I thought that was fascinating. And then above all of that, you do feel the mother's tension over, is she going to get the daughter across the line, right, at the point where she made mistakes. So I just want to say I loved it. I thought it was fascinating. So you mentioned that this play was produced in the ScriptWorks Out of Ink Showcase, which means it was part of our Weekend Fling. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, in which year? Sorry?
I think it was 2013. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is one of my favorite writing events all year. And for those of you who aren't ScriptWorks members, and you should join us, there'll be a link on the website. Each November, we come together. We write a 10-minute play in 48 hours based on 3 ingredients. It's a blast. And I think, personally, the rigidity of the format has sort of helped me write some of my best work. So do you recall what the ingredients were that year? And I'm just going to assume they're expertly woven into the script and I couldn't find them.
I only remembered one, and I actually went back to look just to confirm that I wasn't crazy, that they are in there. So I'll take you step by step through how I wrote it. So the first one that really struck me was, and this was the most outlandish, but I think it's good because it's dramatic. The first ingredient was there had to be either a gunshot or a birth in the play.
Okay.
And you'll see which one I chose. And I kind of fudged it a little bit. I think it's obvious that it's more of a symbolic birth. It's not I fudged it a little bit. The second one was a character had to use like lingo or jargon from a company.
Wow.
Again, I fudged this one because I think the character was supposed to just speak exclusively in that jargon. I couldn't make that happen. I obviously went for more of a realistic script here. So
yeah, I mean, that's a tough ingredient.
Now, there were some that night at Out of Ink that did an incredible job of incorporating that, very realistically, honestly. So I shouldn't say that it's not possible. It just wasn't possible for me.
Yeah,
but I did include some of that. And then the third ingredient was there has to be a photograph that two characters kind of interpret differently.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think through. I'm like, oh man, it was written into there so well that none of those stood out for me. So that is wonderful. So did those ingredients prompt the idea for the play, or did you already sort of have this concept in mind?
No, so I think there have definitely been years when I've been out of ink, when I've written for Out of Ink, where I've had like a few ideas that I go into the weekend, like, okay, this might work,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they just don't. This was one of the first 2 years where I had thought about doing Out of Ink. Like the previous year, I went in with just a ton of enthusiasm, no ideas, a ton of enthusiasm, and then the ingredients just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I came up with nothing. I couldn't write anything. So, but this year for this play, 1617, I was really inspired by the birth, the idea of a birth. And I was a fairly recent parent. My daughter had been born, I think, a couple of years before that. Thought about that a lot. Started to think about how could I weave a birth into a play, and then we went from there.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. And there have been years where, yeah, the ingredients have completely informed my idea, or they've been like, hey, I cannot make these work. So it's wonderful.
It reminds me a lot of like the 1 Minute Play Festival too,
Oh, yeah.
like you talked about restrictions and constrictions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, like every year I get the ingredients and I'm in a little bit of despair.
Mm-hmm.
I get a little resentful. I go through the various stages of grief.
Yes, the stages of grief.
Finally come to the point where I realize that events like Out of Ink, events like the 1 Minute Play Festival, they force you to be more dramatic.
Right.
They force you to come up with something more creative. I always end up appreciating the activity, the exercise of writing.
Right, and it's funny because I'm not the kind of writer who enjoys writing prompts. Typically, I dread them. I'm like, I can't think of anything for that. I just want to do my own thing. But for some reason, the way that our weekend fling is set up and the way Out of Ink is set up, the way that we have such a tight timeline, and I think there's sort of a pride issue too, because we do a salon on the last day and everybody presents their scripts, and if you don't have one, that's a little bit of a pride issue if you weren't able to come up with something. Have you found, and did you find, I think you kind of did mention with this one, that there is always one ingredient that you can kind of wrap your story around and the others will start to fall into place?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. I can't remember any other off the top of my head. I mean, you just kind of you want something to spark. You want a spark of some sort of imagination. And I was relating a lot of the play to myself and my life. I'm obviously not a mother. I'm not a daughter, but, I have one of them. And so I thought of them. And I typically, there's one that's so kind of out there and so big, like a gunshot or a birth. That's big.
That's huge, right? Yeah.
And it's so dramatic that that seemed to me like the natural kind of jumping off spot for this, and then the rest sort of fell into place.
Well, I think it's just a fantastic script, and I loved hearing. I can't wait to hear it tonight with the actors performing for you, because, like I said, it's just layers of tension and heart, and I just think you did a fantastic job. So, I am excited for everyone. Thanks, Jason, for answering these questions. You are about to hear 1617 by Jason Rainey, and it's being performed for you by Kristen Childs as Cass and Jordan Taylor as Dina.
Teenager's bedroom, late afternoon or early evening. Dina, in her late teens and dressed as if she's just come home from school, talks on her phone while emptying her backpack. The backpack is full of books and paper, enough for several days of homework. During the course of the conversation, she pulls out an envelope but surreptitiously places it inside a book, hoping it won't be found.
You know how she is. She's going to make it all about her. No idea. It's a surprise. I've tried to get it out of her. I'll find out somehow and I'll let you know. Oh, I really hope you can make it. Of course you can bring her. I better go. She's coming. And yeah, okay. Cass, why are you singing that?
Do you remember when you first learned your letters? You'd sing the alphabet song like this. A, B, 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 H, I, J, K. It was so cute.
Uh-huh.
Dina, who are you on the phone with? I heard you talking to someone?
Daddy called to wish me a happy birthday.
Daddy called. Why does he get daddy when you called me by my first name since you learned to talk? Let me tell you, it was really strange to hear my 7-year-old daughter ask me, Cass, can my friend sleep over tonight?
I could call you Mama Cass.
Huh. Not funny, little girl. Here you go. Some birthday cards came for you.
Daddy really wants to come to the party, but of course I couldn't tell him where it is because you insist on keeping it a secret.
Well, it's supposed to be a surprise after all.
Oh, here's a card from Aunt Jerry.
Is that a photo?
Yeah, it's one of me with Aunt Jerry when I was a toddler.
You loved spending time at her house when you were a kid.
I look frightened.
You loved being with Aunt Jerry. Why on earth would you be frightened?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the cigarette dangling from her mouth that looks like it's starting to burn my head. So come on, tell me where we're going tonight.
It's a surprise.
But tonight's the party, so you might as well tell me.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. My pa always told me, son, you'll be a leg man. No? Creamy ranch, honey mustard, sweet and sour. Take a dip, the sauce is fine. Come grab a bucket of chicken for $9.99.
Charlie's Chicken Palace? But I'm a vegetarian.
They have amazing sides.
Cass, I'm not going. You know how I feel about that place. I'm not going to support any company when the owner sends crazy homophobic letters to the newspaper.
You loved Charlie's when you were a kid.
You know the crazy things he said about gays and lesbians. We can't support that type of discrimination.
Oh, come on. It's one meal.
No, the guy's a homophobe and a bigot.
You're going to stop going places because there are bigots? What, are you going to stop going to eat at Grandpa's?
I am not eating there.
But I made a reservation. Okay. I'll call everybody and we'll meet up for pizza.
And Daddy can come? He wants to bring Allison and little Larry.
That's fine.
Of course, you could call him yourself, but that would be the mature thing to do.
Well, your father and I don't have a whole lot to talk about, do we?
I don't know why this is so important to you anyway. I really didn't even want a party.
Because 17's an important birthday. It's a milestone.
Milestone for what?
Well, you can go to R-rated movies now on your own.
I don't go to the movies.
17 it's very special.
No, it's not that important. The important birthdays are 18, 21, 40.
Shut your mouth. I have an entire decade to enjoy my 30s.
I wouldn't say an entire decade.
7 years, close enough.
Would you like me to put the mirrors in the attic? I would hate for you to break one.
Whatever. Well, I guess I need to call Grandma and let her know we're changing the party.
Tell me she's not bringing her boyfriend.
Of course she is.
He's like half her age. It's creepy.
I like Tom.
Well, of course you do. You're the same age. You should be dating Tom, not Grandma.
Honey, it's just that the women in our family have a certain something when it comes to men.
Okay, that was way more gross than Grandma and her boy toy.
I didn't mean it. Hold on. Someone's calling me. Hello? Yes, this is her mother. What are you talking about? No, you must have her confused with... Dina would never... 2 days suspension? I'll certainly talk to her. Yes, thank you. Yes, goodbye. Do you want to tell me what that was about?
Cass, it's so stupid.
Suspended? I'm busting my ass to throw you a party and you get suspended?
I'm telling you, it's a total joke.
The principal said you were cussing at the teacher.
What? No, I wasn't cussing at the teacher.
The principal said you were cussing at the teacher.
It was in Miss Tillman's class. I was reading a poem that I wrote, and it had some cuss words in it. See, I mean, Miss Tillman's cool. She doesn't care. But the principal walked in when I was reading it and kind of freaked.
You read a poem to your class? Why didn't you tell me about it?
It's no big deal.
No, honey, I think it's great. What's the poem about?
It's about Uncle Dell.
You wrote a poem about Uncle Dell? Can you read it for me?
I don't know.
Oh, sweetheart, it would mean so much to me. But leave out the cussing.
Well, okay. The Big Dumb Schmuck by Dina Pittman.
Oh,
The big dumb schmuck in his big dumb truck went out hunting and killed a big poor buck. But the big dumb schmuck soon ran out of luck when he drove right into the big brown muck. No one's heard from the big dumb schmuck. Not a peep, not a howl, not a big loud cluck. But one thing's certain about the big dumb schmuck. We all hope the dummy remains forever stuck. Maybe I could read it at the party tonight?
well, you deserve every bit of that suspension. The principal said you were suspended for 2 days, so you better have a lot of homework to keep you busy.
I've already got half of it done.
Getting ready to have a party to celebrate someone who thinks cussing is poetry. I'm gonna have to keep a close eye on you, aren't I?
No, Cass, how many years have I been in school and this is the first real trouble I've gotten into?
A year from graduating, and this goes on your record.
It's okay, I'll apologize.
Yeah, you're damn right you will. You know, I wish you'd read me more of your poems. Well, maybe the ones where you're not cussing about your family. What did your teacher think of it?
She really likes some of the other things I've written. Says I should try to get them published.
Really? Now that's something.
I'll probably use a pen name, though. Dina Pittman doesn't exactly have a literary ring.
Dina is a beautiful name. That was my grandmother's name. You know, you lucked out, that's for sure. Your father wanted to name you Treasure.
Treasure? Oh, that's definitely points deducted for Larry.
What happened to Daddy?
Wanting to give your daughter a stripper's name calls for a little first name formality.
So tell me what I've done to deserve the first name treatment. I can't remember the last time you called me Mom.
Come on, Cass. We've always been like sisters. If you wanted me to call you Mom, you should have acted like one.
What are you talking about?
Well, for example, I don't think most moms let their kids sleep with them until they're 12.
You had a lot of nightmares. You were scared.
Oh, it was me that was scared. And this party, Cass, I told you a month ago that I didn't want a party.
But you didn't mean it.
Yes, I did. I just wanted to hang out with my friends.
Well, your friends will be there.
I just don't get it. We usually just have cake and watch a movie. This year it has to be an event for some reason.
Because you're 17. It's your 17th birthday and you made it. And you're smart and beautiful and you're going to college next year. This is my accomplishment.
I'm such a brat. You were 16 when you had me. Me turning 17, this is...
Tina, sweetheart, this past year has almost killed me. I kept thinking, if I can just get her to her 17th birthday, she'll be okay.
But I mean, it's not like I've given you a lot to worry about. I don't even have a boyfriend.
Hell, your dad wasn't my boyfriend. We went out on 3 dates, and the next thing I knew, I had you.
Does it seem like yesterday?
What?
Well, you know, Some women say, it feels like just yesterday I was pregnant.
Oh, it goes by so quickly.
I was an easy delivery for you, at least, right?
Ah. Well, true to form, you put up a bit of a fight at first. I was dilated at 6 centimeters for the longest time. You just wouldn't budge. The doctor said that I was going to have a C-section. And your grandma, she was there. She told me it would be fine. She held my hand. But I started to cry. I was just so afraid. But then, an hour later, the doctor came back, and I was more than 9 centimeters. And it was time, and they didn't have to do the C-section. And you were born. And it was like you heard my tears and you said, "You're upsetting my mama. I'm coming out there to set you straight." It's funny that 17 years can go by so quickly, yet feel like a lifetime ago. Of course, your life is really just getting started.
Hey, do you have something I could wear to the party? Maybe something that'll piss off Grandpa?
Wait. Be serious for a minute. I want to hear you say you're excited about turning 17.
I'm excited. You only turned 17 once, right?
That's right.
It can go by quickly, huh?
Yes. But nobody knows what tomorrow looks like. No one's ever seen it. Okay. I have to admit that poem was kind of catchy. Recite it again.
The Big Dumb Schmuck.
The Big Dumb Schmuck.
You've just heard 1617 by Jason Rainey. It was read by Kristen Childs and Jordan Taylor. If you'd like to hear more of Jason's work, make sure to check out his plays on NPX, the new play exchange. We'll have a blog post with more information about Jason, a link to his NPX profile, as well as information about ScriptWorks and how you can join us for the upcoming Weekend Fling. You can find all of that on our website, storiesfound.com. Thanks for listening to Stories Found. We've been your hosts, Ava Love Hannah and Paul Hannah. Get more info about this week's episode, subscribe to our newsletter, or submit your own story and be a featured storyteller in a future episode. You can do all that and more on our website, storiesfound.com. Stories Found was recorded at ELA Studios deep in the heart of Austin, Texas.